Hello, YouTube. This is another Bible study. My name is Pastor Green. You can email me at godsohman@gmail.com. This is going to be another YouTube Bible study. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, click the notification bell. Also, like and comment the video. By clicking subscribe and the notification bell, it's going to let you know whenever I post a new video. By liking and commenting, it's going to let YouTube know that my video is getting seen, and it's getting interaction, so it'll actually show the video more. And like I said, we're going to do Genesis 21 today. It starts in verse 1. And the Lord visited Sarah as he had said, and the Lord did unto Sarah as he had spoken. For Sarah conceived, and bare Abram a son in his old age, and the time set for which God had spoken unto him. And Abraham called the name of his son which was born unto him, who Sarah had bare unto him, Isaac. And Abraham circumcised his son Isaac, being 8 days old, as God had commanded him. And Abraham was 100 years old when his son Isaac was born unto him. And Sarah said, God had made me laugh, so that all that hear will laugh with me. Now it's interesting to note that Abraham was 100 years old, and Sarah was about 90 years old. Isaac actually means laughter, to laugh, or something like that. So it's kind of interesting because if you remember before, the angels came down and told Abraham that we're going to give you a son through you and Sarah. And Sarah actually laughed about it, and she said, I'm 90. How am I going to have a baby? And so this is kind of like a memorial to say, this kid right here, I had him when I was 90. It's kind of a, funny story to tell people now. And she said, who would have said unto Abraham that Sarah should have given children to suck? For I have bore him a son in his old age. And the child grew and was weaned, and Abraham made a great feast the same day that Isaac was weaned. And Sarah saw the son of Hagar the Egyptian, which he had borne unto Abraham, mocking. Wherefore she said unto Abraham, cast out this bondwoman and her son, for the sons of the bondwoman shall not be heir with my son, even with Isaac. And if you remember before, Abraham got kind of tired of waiting for God to give him a son, so he was with Sarah's handmaiden, Hagar, and they bore Ishmael. Ishmael is actually the father of the Muslims. And basically God told Abraham, why'd you do this? I told you I was going to give you a son. But because Abraham had a baby, God blessed Ishmael and said, I'm going to make you a great nation. And Sarah was very sad that Ishmael was born because she wanted to have her own son. And I believe that Ishmael is about 7 or 8 years older than Isaac. So she waited for 7 more years after that in order to have her own kid. And so when she finally, Isaac was finally born, it looks like Sarah got a little bit upset with Hagar and kind of was mean to her son, which she shouldn't have done. But she kicked her out of the house and basically told her, you got to leave. And the thing was very grievous in Abraham's sight because of his son. And God said unto Abraham, let it not be grievous in thy sight because of the lad, and because of thy bondwoman, and all that Sarah has said unto thee, hearken thy voice, for in Isaac shall thy seed be called. So God's basically telling Abraham, listen, I understand that this isn't the right thing for Sarah to do, but Sarah is your wife. There's been many times where God has said, it's God, wife, kids, everybody else. So this is your wife. It is what it is. And don't worry about it. I'm going to take care of Hagar and Ishmael. And also the son of the bondwoman will I make a nation because he is thy seed. So God's telling Abraham, I'm going to make Ishmael a great nation. And as we know, that's the nation of the Muslims. In 2 Samuel 12, there's a story about David. And it says, and David comforted Bathsheba his wife, and went into her, and lay with her. And she bare a son, and he called his name Solomon, and the Lord loved him. It's really interesting that if you remember the story of David, David went and slept with Bathsheba, conceived a child with her, and ended up killing Bathsheba's husband because he didn't want her husband to know that David basically was with his wife. And it's really interesting that it said that Solomon was born and the Lord loved him. It doesn't matter what kind of circumstances you went through, God's still going to use you. Solomon should have never been around because David should have never slept with Bathsheba to begin with. But that's what happened, and God used Solomon for a great thing. Later in the Bible, we read about in Acts 16. It says, "Then came he to Derbe and Lystra, and behold, a certain disciple there named Timotheus, the son of a certain woman, which was a Jewish, and believed, but his father was Greek." So Timothy was also a half-breed. His mother was Jew, and his father was Greek, and they were forbidden ever to be together. But they bore their son Timothy, and God used Timothy. So it doesn't matter what your parents have done. You could just put on your big boy britches and serve God. It doesn't matter what's happening in your life. It doesn't matter the circumstances. Just serve God. God will take anybody. Back to Genesis 21. And Abraham rose up early in the morning, and he took bread and a bottle of water, and gave it to Hagar, put it on her shoulder, and the child. And he sent her away, and she departed, and wandered in the wilderness of Beersheba. And then you look at Samuel, it says, and all Israel from Dan and even to Beersheba knew that Samuel was established to be a prophet of the Lord. So it's basically saying from Dan to Beersheba, which is kind of like us saying from New York to California here in America, or from shore to shore. 2 Samuel 3:10, to translate the kingdom from the house of Saul and to set the throne upon David, all Israel and all Judah from Dan to Beersheba. So again, it's talking about from Dan to Beersheba, from shore to shore. And if you look at this map right here, you can see the very, very top is Dan, and the very bottom is Beersheba. And so it's basically, that's the whole entire nation of Israel, from the top to the bottom. So by saying from Dan to Beersheba, it's basically like saying from pole to pole, from coast to coast, from New York to California. It's telling you this is the whole land that we own. In Genesis 21, and the water was spent in the bottle, and she cast the child under one of the shrubs. So Abraham gave Hagar water in a bottle, and now the water's gone. And you got to remember, they're in the middle of the Middle East, the middle of the desert, so water's a pretty important thing. And she went and she sat down over against him a good way off, as it was a bowshot, for she said, "Let me not see the death of the child." And she sat over against him and lifted up her voice and wept. So Hagar's saying, Lord, don't let my child die. I don't want to see my child die. Please help me do something. And they both just sat there weeping. And God heard the voice of the lad, and the angel of God called to Hagar out of heaven, and said unto her, What aileth thee, Hagar? Fear not, for God has heard the voice of the lad where he is. Arise, lift up the lad, and hold him in thine hands, for I will make him a great nation. And God opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water, and she went and filled the bottle of water, and gave the lad drink. And God was with the lad, and he grew, and he dwelt in the wilderness, and became an archer. And he dwelt in the wilderness of Paran, and his mother took him a wife out of the land of Egypt. And it came to pass at that time that Abimelech and Phichol, the chief captain of the host, spake unto Abraham, saying, God is with thee in all that thou do. Now therefore swear unto me here by God, that thou wilt not deal falsely with me, nor my son, nor with my son's son, but according to the kindness that I've done unto thee. So basically, Abimelech is saying, you're becoming a great nation. I pray to you that you treat me nicely because I treated you nicely. Thou shalt do unto me in the land which thou hast sojourned. And Abraham said, I swear. So basically, Abimelech's telling Abraham, you're becoming a great nation. You're becoming very rich and powerful. Don't mess with me. Don't attack my city. Leave my people alone because I was nice to you when Sarah was in my care. If you remember the last chapter, Abimelech took Sarah because she thought that she didn't know that was Abraham's wife, and a lot of bad things happened. And so Abimelech blessed Abraham and gave him all kind of stuff, made him richer, and said, please don't do anything harshly to me. And Abraham reproved Abimelech because of the well of water which Abimelech's servants had violently taken away. So apparently Abimelech's servants came into the place where Abraham was and took away a well which Abraham drilled. And you got to understand, back those days, it took weeks to drill a well. So having a well is a really important thing because it took a while. And you're in the middle of the desert, so having water is a very important thing. And Abimelech said, I wot not who has done this thing, neither didst thou tell me, neither yet heard of it, but to this day. So Abimelech saying, I didn't know anything about this scuffle between my people and you. I didn't even know about it until you just now told me. And Abraham took sheep and oxen and gave them to Abimelech, and both of them made a covenant. And Abraham set 7 ewe lambs for the flock by themselves. And Abimelech said unto Abraham, What mean these 7 ewe lambs, which thou hast set by themselves? And he said, For these 7 ewe lambs shalt thou take of my hand, which they may be a witness unto me that I have digged this well. And back in the times of Abraham, they made deals by giving different livestock. I'm giving you these animals, and it's a sign to say this is what happened. It was almost like signing a contract. And so he gave the 7 ewe lambs to Abimelech, saying, this is a contract between me and you, that this well's mine. And this is a kind of a picture of Beersheba today. They did some digging there. There was some ruins. And if you look in the background, you can see a lot of greenery there. The Israelites have done some amazing things when it comes to agriculture. They've made Israel almost all fruitful, even though it's the middle of the desert. And if you actually go to Google Earth and you look at Israel today, you can see that it's pretty green. Everything around is brown because Israel has spent a lot of time doing different type of things like drip irrigation, trying to grow different types of produce there because it's kind of hard to grow things in the Middle East, and so they did a lot of amazing things with that. And a lot of people think that this is the actual well that they're talking about in the story. I don't know. I've never been to the Middle East, but this is the picture where a lot of people say this is the well that we're talking about in the story in Genesis. Genesis 21:32. Thus made they a covenant in Beersheba. Then Abimelech rose up, and Phichol, the chief captain of his host, and they returned to the land of the Philistines. Now it's really interesting. If you look at the map where the 2 arrows are, the pink area is Judah, and the green area is the Philistines. And if you guys remember, different people came out of Philistine. For instance, Goliath. And Joshua was actually charged to go into the Philistines and completely and utterly destroy it and take over the land. And he didn't exactly do what God told him to do. And they've really had problems ever since. And if you actually look at the land of the Philistines today, that's the Gaza Strip. And the Jews are still having a problem today, 2019, with the Philistines. And if Joshua would have done what he was supposed to do and completely take over that land, they wouldn't be having that problem. But Israel's still having a problem with the Philistines today, 2019. Because there's a Palestinian problem where it doesn't matter how much land they conquer. They want the one that you have. As you can see, there's all these different places that they've conquered. And they say, you're sitting in my chair, which is Israel. And Abraham planted a grove in Beersheba and called there on the name of the Lord, an everlasting God. And Abraham sojourned in the Philistine land many days. And like I said, guys, I appreciate you guys follow my Bible studies. I try to do at least one a week. That way you guys can follow along with me. Again, make sure you subscribe to my channel and click that bell. That way you get new updates whenever I post a new video. Also, like and comment. That really helps me out. It helps YouTube show my videos. And if you don't really have anything to comment, just say, good job, thank you, appreciate it, liked your video, just say hi. I mean, just anything really, as long as there's a comment on there. And apparently, according to new algorithms, the more people look at comments, the better the videos do. I don't really know how that stuff works. I'm still pretty new to YouTube. But again, thanks, guys. I appreciate you guys following me, and I'll see you next time.